Hey, what's up? Noah here. I am the host of the In Rest podcast, and I'm welcoming you to an episode about reset. Reset is a crucial part of our life with God, our life with leadership, because there are chapters that go by where we need to hit the reset button. Now, we talked about reset in our previous episode, and today we're going to talk about rest as an important part of resetting. So why is that important? Well, actually, our brains are a great illustration for this because our brains actually reset at nighttime. There's certain really important processes that our brains do not go through unless we're sleeping a considerable amount of time each night. And when we consistently miss that time, we're going to consistently see that those processes that are meant to help reset our brain, reset our body, reset our cells, even the cells of our body, are not going to happen, and we're going to suffer for that as a result. So what is it about resting that makes resetting so important? Why does your physical body hit the reset button when you're sleeping? And why does not just our physical body, but our social battery, our spiritual life, why do we need rest all the way around in order to experience a reset at the beginning of a new chapter or at the end of a very strenuous and intensive one? Well, the fact is, rest is needed if you're going to be able to jump back in with resilience into the next season, into the next moment. Rest is important because rest actually, there's a sense of coming home to our values, coming home to the things that are important to us, coming home to the things that matter most, not just in our life, but also in our leadership. So when we're hitting the reset button as, say, an organization, we're going to be hitting the reset by resting on those values. We're going to actually hit the stop button, and we're going to go back to business to the terms of where we first started, on terms of our DNA as a team, on the terms of, the things that we set in motion at the very beginning. We're going to stop what we're doing now, and we're going to go back to where we started. Right? So if you're at work, okay, if you're just enjoying a regular day at work or hating a regular day at work, you get to the end of your shift, you get to the end of your time, you get to the end of your event, and you head home. So when you're driving home, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. First of all, you're going to be setting your playlist and doing a bunch of, doing a bunch of text messages to your family, maybe to say, hey, I'm on my way. Do you want pizza? Blah, blah, blah. You get home with the pizza, you get into the house, you get the pizza on the table, the kids, scramble around you. And if you don't have any kids, you just kind of enjoy quiet and peace, maybe. And then you sit down, you eat your pizza with your spouse, or you eat pizza by yourself because you're just living alone and you're living your life, and that's that. And then you go to bed. And so there's this whole process of leading from work and being at work, and then you stop everything you're doing at work. Everything stops. That's rest, right? Rest just means stop. So you lay down, you put the pencil down, and you start packing your bag, and then you go to the car. You get in the car and you drive. You get driving, you stop again. Where? On the way to whatever you need to go to, so let's say you're on the way home, you stop to get food on the way home, stop to get groceries, whatever you needed to pick up. Then you go back to the house, you stop again, you get everything out of the car, you go inside, you stop again, you stop by, you stop and then you get everything out of the bags, you get everything out of, the pizza box, whatever. And then you stop that, you put that aside, and then you go back upstairs, you go and you get ready for sleeping. And hopefully you've already put your phone away for 30 minutes and then laid down in bed and went to sleep. You stop. And then the next day you wake up and you start again. Well, this whole process of, stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting in order to do the next thing. It's just part of our day-to-day life. This part of essentials and fundamentals of life that we just sort of ignore because we're so busy, and that we just, we live into these things as just the regular innocuous days of our lives. But there's something key there to pay attention to, because when we are in a season of life that needs a reset. We've been going off kilter. We've been slipping back into an addiction. We've been struggling with a mental health thing that we had already overcome a long time ago. We had already had freedom in some particular area, and now we're struggling again. So we stop what we're doing in the present moment, and we figure out what we need to do to get to a place of rest. There's a process. There's an effort that needs to be taken in order to get back to where we're supposed to be. Now in the Bible, there's a time in the the people of Israel or whatever, they're called to go into the wilderness on the way to the promised land. So they stop living in slavery. They start making their way out to the wilderness. They stop by the Red Sea. God parts the Red Sea. Through Moses, he leads them across the Red Sea on dry ground. They get to the other side. God stops them again. They watch all their enemies be ruined and destroyed. They start again towards Mount Sinai. They stop again. And there's this process of like this ebb and flow of wait, stop, wait, move, stop, wait, move, stop, wait, move. And when they get to Mount Sinai, they're stopping, they're resting, or they're supposed to be. And a lot of things go awry in that part of the story, but eventually they end up moving again into the wilderness to travel again closer and closer to the promised land. And decades later, they do finally make it into the promised land, but before they even get there, they stop. They stop, they worship, they stop, they consecrate themselves, they go through the Jordan River on dry ground, another miracle that God performs. They go in, they stop, right? It's just like this is how we orient ourselves, is this ebb and flow of working and busy and doing, and then we stop. And so, first of all, I want to ask you a question. Where in your life have you just needed to stop? You just need to stop. You need to stop smoking. You need to stop, really bad habits at work. You need to stop getting up late every day. You need to stop doing something, right? And you've got to hit the stop button. I'm not sure if you remember, growing up, maybe you had a VCR, okay? I had a VCR growing up, and we would hit the stop button in order to end the movie, or just stop it at that particular spot so we could come back to it later or whatever. There's the pause button. The pauses are important. Pauses is a rest too. The scripture says that, we pause. But stop is no. Everything that's going on with this story has got to come to an abrupt conclusion for a moment. And then we're going to get back at it in a minute. And so where do you need to hit the stop button, not just the pause button? And when we hit the pause button, we're about to almost immediately come back to doing the same thing in the same way. We come to Jesus, we experience rest, we have a break, we have a nap, and then we get up and we go back at it in the exact same format and the exact same approach. But when we're going through a season where we need to reset, we need to stop what we're doing and do it again. So today, I was trying to record this. I hit the record button. I hit the piano or something a couple times, messed up my first part of the recording. I stopped, and I didn't just pick up from where I left off because I'd messed up that first part of the recording. So I just started right over again. I rested, I took a deep breath, and actually even before I even hit record, I had to take a deep breath just to be ready to do this. And what is going on right now in your life that you just need to stop? There isn't going back into the same approach that you had just had. It's where do you need to stop? And it's not as simple as just, if you're struggling with addiction, you're not just going to be done being an addict. It doesn't work like that. But if that does need to stop, if that addiction needs to stop having a hold on you, if that habit needs to start having less of a power on your life and start moving you, your habits need to start moving you in the right direction, then there is a process that you need to take on, but it might not be as simple as ending it all, ending all of those things, ending all of those habits all at once. It's about, stopping to assess what is the next step from here, right? So stopping is just ceasing. The scriptures say, be still and know that I am God. Cease striving. Just a little tidbit, as I go about my day-to-day life, every once in a while I'll be struggling or I'll be trying to get a lot of things done, and the Lord will literally just tell me to rest. And I'm like, God, I'm literally in a parking lot about to drive somewhere. I can't just rest, or I'm literally driving somewhere and I'm thinking about something and the Lord just gives me the word rest. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Rest just means to stop for a second. Just stop. And whatever needs to stop in your life, there is a process to see that happen. So for me, sometimes that stop, when I feel that God is putting it on my heart to rest, or somebody is telling me, dude, you should really maybe consider doing something different, I'm going to pump the brakes. I'm going to, engage mentally in something that I'm just like, okay, whatever I'm thinking about right now, I just gotta think, like have a lull in my brain for a moment. And that's not an easy thing to do. So I got to take some deep breaths. I got to do some breath work. I got to, turn on music. I got to turn on music. That's just fun. That's nothing, So stopping doesn't mean just ceasing. It also means, okay, what does it mean? How do you get to the point of stopping? Like if you're driving somewhere, you're going to put on the brakes. But that's a step that you take. Literally, you step on the brake, So for you, what is the thing that God is telling you to stop? What is the thing that God is telling you to stop, and what's the next step for you to get there? Because that stopping, that rest, is a very important part of you experiencing the reset that you need in order to move into the chapter that God has for you. And the things that we're resetting on, okay, is like things like our true identity, not the things that our family told us we were, not the things that we constantly say about ourselves when we look in the mirror. We're talking about our true identity, who we really are. And when we look at ourselves and we say, okay, I am A and I'm B and I'm C, like I'm a son, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm this, I'm that, then, we're going to come back to, wait a second, if I'm a dad and I want to be a good dad, that's what I am, that's who I am, I'm trying to be a good dad. Am I really going to keep working at home while my kids are home around me playing? Like, am I really going to keep bringing work home with me? What's causing that? And what am I going to do to stop that so that I can actually engage with my kids? Okay. Are we making sense now? I'm sorry. It's taking a long walk for this short drink of water. But if you're bringing home stress that you're then unleashing on your family as a result of your inability to manage that stress, or because you don't have the boundaries to just leave that stress elsewhere with people that belongs to, or delegating work responsibilities or whatever it is, that's something that's got to stop. You got to put an end to that. And so how are you going to put an end to it? How are you going to pump the brakes on that practice, that habit, that thing that you're doing? Because it is changing you into something, and it's changing you into someone. It's not just that your habits are you, it's that your habits make you into somebody. Your things that you consistently do, the practices that you consistently take on, those things are going to form you. How you check your phone every day, even just checking, your notifications or emails, that even your approach to that will form you. If your first thought when you open your eyes in the morning is that you got to check your email, that's changing you into somebody. That's changing you into a vision of somebody that is very different than maybe who you really set out to be when you started in leadership, or when you started as a father or husband or a wife or a mom. So you have to think about your life, or even just, just as a single adult, just living your life and doing your best. There's more to you than just what you do, but what you do makes you more into something. There's more to you than just the things and the habits that you do. But the habits that you do make you into something. So what's the something that your habits are making you into? And where do you need to hit the reset button and stop, right? So if we're going to hit the reset button, even just using that language, okay, let's say we're going to go to our Facebook page and we're going to hit the refresh. You're going to scroll all the way to the top, or you're on the desktop and you hit, Control R, or, right click, refresh, whatever. That's going to reset the page. It's going to start the process of loading everything back up again, so that all of the, disjointed, whatever, everything's going to be missed. Everything's going to be refreshed, right? It's going to be refreshed. If you're going to a retreat weekend, if you're going to take a nap, you're going to be hitting the reset button in one sense, right? Like one day I was coming home and I was spending time with my kids, and I had a lot of angst just in my physical body, okay? We carry a lot of that in our body. I'm coming home and I'm struggling, and I really, really get the strong impression that I need to lay down and sleep, and not just I wish I could have a nap right now. It's no, I really believe that it's very important that I lay down right now. So I decided eventually, even with all of the kids screaming around me and doing their Easter stuff, that I was going to lay down. And I slept for 12 minutes, 15 minutes. All of the angst in my body went away. I woke up and I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. Now usually naps are not that powerful, right? But a power nap can be the thing that you need to, I just stopped for a moment. So that's what I want to get into now, is really the physical rest side. And like, are you getting enough sleep? Are you stopping enough? Are you actually like putting boundaries between you and the ministry, you and the work, you and the leadership, you and the people that you serve? Because the fact is that people are going to take advantage of the boundaries that you don't set, or the things that people are going to take advantage of their access to you. Life is going to be like a black hole, and the responsibilities that you have are going to try and suck you in and take you out. And the fact is that unless you have a real plan and a game plan for overcoming that tendency that life has to try and like take you out, you're going to be sucked up into it. You have to be intentional about whatever it is, whatever that habit that you need to start, whatever that thing you need to do. But right now, what you might need to do is not anything complicated. It's literally just figure out how to stop whatever it is you're doing right now and start again. So let's figure that out. Where do you need that right now? Okay, we got physical, we got financial, we got spiritual, we got relational. And now there's one I'm missing probably, but the point is that you have all these different facets of your life. Where in those things do you need to just stop? Like, for example, like I don't really function with a budget most of the time because I already know where my money's going. It's going to these bills, these groceries, and by the end of it, we'll put some savings aside. Now you're like, no, that's not very wise financial management. And I do put giving in part of that because I believe that that's a value. It's very important. But like, I already know where my money is going. But like, sometimes that I get into habits where I spend a lot of money without checking on it. I spend a lot of money without doing a lot of assessment as to whether or not that was a good purchase. So sometimes I'll just take a look. I'll just be like, stop, wait a second. I need to look through my bank statements. I need to pay attention. The scripture saying in the book of Proverbs, pay very close attention to your flocks. So at least once a month, I'll be checking my financials, and if there's something that needs to stop, my wife and I will have a conversation, be like, we need to stop doing that. We need to stop spending money on this stuff because it's not important and it's not what we need, and we need to be ready for this next chapter. So with that mindset in mind, like, do you need a monthly check-in where you're going to stop and you're going to look at what you're doing so that you can hit the reset button to get back on the process of your goals, your purposes, your values? Because when you rest, you're coming home to your values. When you rest, you're coming home to who you really are in Jesus, who you really are with your family, who you really are, even when nobody else is watching, right? Like, you're coming home to who you really are when you have a break, because nobody else is like coming in with different pressures, to take you out or whatever. If you're taking a break, if you're stopping a habit, if you're stopping your activities in order to like just get some clarity. But just to be clear, when we're talking about rest, okay, rest can look like stopping and having a nap. Rest can look like ceasing a pattern, a practice, or habit. Rest can look like having a pause. Rest can look like hitting the stop button on your life and taking a day away and just giving some space from your craziness. So as an example of that, right now I'm in Ballast Lodge in New Brunswick, beautiful retreat center, a retreat area, whatever. So because I needed some retreat, I needed a time to get away. So I spent some time with some leaders last night or yesterday and the day before for our Becoming retreat. So in Rest, we did a Becoming retreat. We had 5 leaders, including myself, gathered together for a pretty intimate gathering of friends. And so it was a very cool way of doing a retreat where we were trying to get back to hitting the reset button and getting back to who we really are in Jesus, who we really are as leaders. And so one of my takeaways from that experience was an exercise that we did where we stopped and we took a few minutes and we literally drew ourselves, what we see of ourselves right now in this present moment in time. And I identified that, like, in my drawing, I drew like a tree that was like, battered, as if it's come out of a storm and it's really tired, but it's still functional. And then we did like a drawing of, okay, where's God in this? And who is God to you? Who is God to you? Like, who is he? Like, what's his name? What's he like? What do you think God is? And I wrote, I did a picture of him, this joyful Jesus extending his hand to me in the midst of like heavenly light, like a very contrasted picture from what I drew of myself. I drew myself as a tree in the midst of a dark storm and taking care of little birdies or whatever. Like that was me. That was my picture of myself. The contrast of that was my picture of God, which was Jesus filled with like surrounded by a heavenly light, approaching me with his hands, like with his nail pierced hands. His approach, his joy, his presence, it's like he's completely contrasted to what I put down. He's strength, he's kindness, he's gracious, he's joyful. I'm tired, I'm battered, I'm in the darkness, he's in the light, and that contrast was something that is helpful for me to process, to figure out, what is God wanting to do in my life right now? How is he wanting to offer me something? Why is he extending his hand to me? Is it possible that he's extending his hand to me because he wants me to experience rest in him and to actually start living from his strength instead of my own? And so had I not taken a time to retreat, to get out of my regular life, to take a time to stop and be in the midst of a place, in the midst of a people who understand rest, then I probably wouldn't have had that kind of clarity, that kind of, oh wow, I've been living outside of who God's really made me to be. I've been angry, I've been struggling, I've been stressful, I've been all this stuff. I'm like, I need to get back to rest. I need to get back to those patterns where, and I'm able to identify what those are because I'm taking the time to stop. So what do you need to do to stop right now? In this present moment of your life, in this present hour of your life, what do you need to do to stop? What do you need to do to pump the brakes on your life? What do you need to do to get some space? Is it a walk in a trail? Is it going to a retreat center? Is it taking a vacation? Is it taking a day just for like 6 hours of just like peace and quiet? Is it booking a lunch meeting that is really just you and Jesus for coffee at a park bench somewhere or at a coffee shop? Is it possible that there is a way today that you can get some rest right now so that you can hit the reset button for your life? Thank you so much for joining me for the In Rest podcast. I'd encourage you to take some time to apply that and figure out how you're going to do it. Please leave a review for this podcast, especially in Spotify, but also on YouTube. The best way for you to leave a review there is by just hitting the like button. If you're watching it, thank you. Good to see you. Hit the like button, hit the bell icon, subscribe, the whole deal, you know what I mean? And put some comments down below, because I'd love for you to riff with me about what stuck out to you about this episode and what was something that was beneficial and encouraging to you. And if you're in the Spotify, if you're listening to this on Spotify, you're folding laundry, you're doing chores, you're driving somewhere, you're on a bike ride, you're on a walk, whatever. So glad that you let me be a part of that with you. And I hope that you can join me next time as we're going to continue talking about reset and relaunch. So I think you're going to enjoy next episode. Go back and listen to the episode about reset and relaunch that was posted before this. And I hope that you have a great, amazing, beautiful, peace-filled day. God bless.